earlier in the preseason camp, and Zakee was the takeaways king again. For him to sustain that and do it another camp, what's it say about where his trajectory is?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Really good ball skills, really good instincts. He's also, I know I say this and sometimes it sounds ridiculous, but he's also one of those guys the ball just likes him. And part of that is, you know, doing what you're supposed to do consistently to be in position when the opportunities come. But yeah, it's pretty impressive. He did it in the spring, and now did it again, you know, in fall camp. So he is trending in the right direction. There's no doubt about it. There's still some things that we got to clean up from a consistency standpoint in terms of the mental aspect. You know, just cleaning up a few of the missed assignments. But he's been great. We feel really good about the safety room.
Decisions on linebacker, the other safety positions, and so on.
Yeah, so literally that's what we're doing right now. You know, and it's not even just some of the first teamers. There's some heated battles going on between a second and third. So that's literally what we're going to try to do tonight. And tomorrow. We've done it as a staff, but I'm talking about having conversations with the players. Try to do that tonight and tomorrow. Probably more of the discussions are between 2s and 3s and stuff like that. But yes, that's what we'll be doing over the next 24 hours.
James, how has PJ come through camp, and did you take it easy on him at all, given how much he's played and that he's coming back from an injury, or was it just camp as normal for him?
Yeah, what I would say is, from a coaching perspective, I would say no. But obviously there was a bunch of hoops that he had to jump through from a medical perspective. That was physically as well as mentally. I know for him, like, one of the big things was passing a conditioning test kind of on his own without any modifications. And he's kind of done that kind of all the way through. You know, I think he's in a really good place physically and mentally. I know we are as well in terms of what he's able to do. But the way we have it set up, it's pretty much the medical staff restricts the player and restricts the staff. And then once we kind of get the green light, it goes from there. But he's also, you know, a veteran player that we do have some practices. And once we kind of get through the meat of training camp, that we say, okay, especially these fifth-year guys and sixth-year guys with COVID that played a lot of football, you know, we know who they are. We need to find out who some of the other guys are. So a little bit, but not based on the injury, more based on knowing who he is, if that makes sense.
Coach,
How important has PJ been from a leadership standpoint? Those guys like Ian Graham, younger guys.
Yeah, he's been great, and he's gotten better in that way. PJ was very much a lead by example, and PJ would call, you know, guys out or speak publicly, but he wasn't going to babysit guys. You know, PJ kind of raised in a way you're gonna sleep in the bed that you made, your situation and your circumstances. But he's gotten better in that, in understanding that, you know, he's got to be able to have some tough conversations with guys that we need. And sometimes it's more impactful hearing it from a teammate maybe than a coach who's harping on you all the time. So he's been great. I think you guys know I haven't kind of hidden my admiration and my respect for PJ and his family for a while now.
Coach, you are famously Mr. 1-0 every week, but Sean mentioned last week that you guys have talked about winning a Big Ten championship, have talked about winning a national championship. Is that a conversation you lead, and what does that look like?
Yeah, we've always done that, but my thing is, okay, let's talk about it, and then let's move on. And we've done that every single year. It's a waste of time and energy talking about that rather than talking about and working on the things that you have to do to achieve those goals. So, you know, we've done it every single year, all the way back. You know, I remember having a discussion with Trace and what they wanted to do. But once we talk about it, that's kind of it. We've had the conversation and move on, and let's spend our time talking about the things that we need to do to achieve the things that we would like to, start with finding a way to beat Purdue.
James, how has your kicking competition gone, and with regards to Chris Stoll as well? I mean, obviously team captain, but are you guys open to maybe moving him around, or you settle him at snapper? Or?
What do you mean moving
Stoll.
him around?
Because we were at practice the other day, he was doing a little bit more than that.
More than snapping?
Yeah.
What was he doing?
You guys were holding?
Oh, okay. I thought you were like playing middle linebacker.
Oh, yeah,
I thought he was part of the middle linebacker.
Yeah, he's part of the middle linebacker competition.
Yeah, you know, he's always done that. He's always done that. You know, and obviously depending on kind of where we're at, and depending on who the kicker is, certain kickers are more comfortable with certain guys. But yeah, that's something that he's always done, and he's been a part of that. You know, probably more legitimate competition this year. You know, it's not obviously, you know, it's not Bugs Bunny back in the day, like Bugs Bunny, you know, pitching. Some of you young people have no idea what I'm even talking about. But yeah, he's doing something. I'm sorry, you lost me when you started. I was thinking something outside of specialist, like slot receiver.
College football is pretty unique, where the first game of the season is the first time you're playing against another team. Do you wish there was preseason or joint practice?
Yes, I'd love for there to be. You know, whether it's a spring game that's been talked about for a long time, a spring game where you're playing somebody else maybe in the region, where the expenses wouldn't be much, you can drive. But you know, we haven't gotten to that point. I could see it happening. I don't necessarily see it happening as a typical preseason like the NFL, but I could see something happening in the spring.
James, to circle back to special teams, you plan on splitting up the kicking duties, and do you know how that's going to look this year?
Yeah, kind of like what's already been asked. I mean, we're having these conversations with the players right now. I mean, literally that started this morning. We'll go through tonight and tomorrow to make sure everybody's on the same page. But yeah, I'm a big believer in specializing when you can, unless you got somebody who just you know, makes it obvious that he's able to handle more. But I think whenever you can have one guy kick off and one guy focus on field goal, the other thing sometimes it does is maybe the young guy is the kickoff guy, and now he gains some game experience, so then the next year when he's the field goal kicker, he's played. You know, that's where maybe you have one long snapper that's doing punting and one long snapper that's doing field goals, and now that guy's going to take over all of those things once the guy graduates or whatever it is. So I think there's value in it, but we'll see how that plays out.
James, this is the third.
About Sal Longley this summer, but what specifically value-wise, schematically, what you guys want to do, running the ball and passing the ball, does he provide now that you have him back in practice?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily schematically, but we were really excited about him last year. Felt like he was put himself in position to be a starter last year, and thought we were really excited about how he was practicing and how he was playing. And he's come right back. He's come right back to kind of where he was, kind of in the buzz of camp, on the offensive line. I think it may be for some of the staff that really hadn't seen him a whole lot with an injury, but he's just done really well. He's very consistent in both the run and pass game. You obviously get a really good evaluation of him. In the beginning of practice, we do a bunch of pretty much live one-on-one pass rush. So you get to see in front of everybody, good on good or best on best, and he's been very successful there. So I think he's very confident right now, and I know his teammates and coaches are as well.
James, this is your third year in a row now going into a Big Ten game to start the year. What have you learned from that process of having to get up to speed and be ready to go against a Power 5 opponent in your first game?
Yeah, I think obviously for the team, I think it really kind of sets the tone and their temperament kind of all summer and all camp. I do think it's different. I also think, going on the road, also is a factor. We've had 3 pretty tough ones on the road to open the season in the Big Ten to start the year. So obviously we've learned. We've had a bunch of emotions and experiences in those first games. So it'll be important. It'll be another great environment early in the season. Everybody has a lot of excitement, and anticipation, and hope on how their season's going to go, and obviously the first game will set the tone. So we're excited about it. It's a huge game. We're obviously into it deep right now with how we practiced today was Purdue. These are bonus Purdue practices for us. Same thing as a staff. We've been grinding on it pretty good. Obviously, we're able to get somewhat ahead but you're also looking at a Purdue team that's hit the transfer portal pretty hard. It's like back in the day, like some of the programs that were heavy junior college teams, and they look very different than they did in the spring. You watch the spring game, there's a lot of guys that are now playing for them that weren't there in the spring.
Was there anything you learned during...
When you decide on starting, how do you tell the players, if you discuss that individually, how tough is it?
Yeah, they're tough conversations. They're tough to have as a coach. They're tough to have as a player, to hear. I would also say that for all of us, and coaches and players specifically, being self-aware, I think, is a really important trait to have. It allows you to grow if you're self-aware, and 90% of the conversations, they should see it if they're being honest with themselves. But as we all know, that's not always the strength of everybody, is being self-aware. The other thing that I think helps, that I feel like I've done a better job, and we've done a better job over the last couple of years, is we have all the data from every competitive period that we have in practice, whether it's a team period, whether it's a 7-on-7 period, whether it's an individual one-on-one rush. So we have all that data for two things. Number one, so the coach has the data to back up what his gut is telling him. I think this guy's the starter. I think this guy's the backup. I think this guy is third on the depth chart. And not only do I feel that way, but the data backs it up. It's also with missed assignments and mental errors and those types of things. But that's also valuable to show the kid. The kid says, I don't get it. What do you mean? Well, here's the data. I think the data is powerful because it's very black and white. And most of them, they're not judgment. Like one-on-one pass rush, there's a little judgment there. But one-on-one receiver DB, you either caught the ball or you didn't. So it's pretty black and white. And I do think that's valuable. But as you know, they don't always go perfect either with them, or sometimes their parents are high school coaches. But this isn't Little League. We're going to play the best guys. It's really that simple, and there's always going to be some hurt feelings with some of the conversations we have to have. And I think it's fine to have hurt feelings. That means you care. That means you're invested. But then you gotta move on.
James, this summer, Tyrese Mills was listed as a safety for you. At a photo day Saturday, he was linebackers. I know that was discussed during his recruitment. Is that full-time projection for him now going forward?
Yeah, so we kind of had always looked at him, like you're saying, through the recruiting process as a guy that could either be a boundary safety or the field backer. And based on testing numbers, when he got here, athletically, what group did he match up best with? That started to kind of go in that direction, and then getting out on the field and doing some things. I think he could play safety, but what happens a lot of times when we're trying to make those moves, it's because it's going to be in the kid and the program's best interest. Can he play safety? Yes. Do we feel like he would be a better linebacker? Yes, for both of him and us.
Hey, James, have you seen enough to judge players? Have you seen enough to judge the team?
Yeah, I think so. But I would also say where you think you are in preseason and then where you are at the middle point of the season and the end of the season can be very different. I mean, you think about the Big Ten championship year, preseason, beginning of the season, end of the season, very different. So I think you get a pretty good idea, but your team needs to continue to grow and evolve throughout the season. If you're the same team at the middle of the season you were at the beginning of the team, then you're going to have problems at the end of the season. So I think I got a pretty good idea of where we are and who we are and what our identity is on offense and defense and special teams and what our strengths are and the things that we need to do to play to those strengths and what are the areas that we still need to get better at between now and Purdue and the next game. So I think we got a pretty good idea of where we're at. I sat in the defensive meetings today, basically day one of Purdue and how we kind of install and break them down and tell them what are the most critical things for us to win, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, and I thought we did a really nice job with that. So I like where we're at, but again, you guys will tell me very clearly where we're at after the game on the first.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Can I visit with you guys?